The first thing Daniel felt was the weight of air in his lungs. It came harsh, shallow, like his chest had forgotten how to rise and fall. His eyes fluttered open, blurred vision slowly forming shapes above him. Lights glowed faint blue. Soft hums filled the silence, and sterile walls pressed in around his bed. A voice broke the stillness. Calm, low, tinged with worry. "Careful, human! Do not move too quickly. Your body is not ready." Daniel blinked. The voice wasn't human. He turned his head and froze. Standing beside his bed was a tall alien figure, skin a pale shade of silver, eyes large and dark with an almost liquid depth, wearing a robe marked with strange insignias. Its long hands gripped a panel that flickered with symbols Daniel didn't understand. Daniel tried to sit up. Pain stabbed through his chest and his arms trembled as if they belonged to someone else. He collapsed back onto the bed with a gasp. The alien stepped closer. "You have been asleep a long time. Over 20 of your Earth years," Daniel's heart pounded. 20 years? His mind spun, trying to grasp the weight of those words. Memories flickered in broken shards. The last thing he remembered was a research mission. Boarding a ship, working with a team of scientists, a sudden flash of alarms. Then nothing. His voice was hoarse. 20 years? That's impossible. The alien's dark eyes softened. "It is true. We kept you alive. Your body would not wake, but we did not abandon you." Daniel stared. "We? Who were they? Why would an alien care enough to keep a single human alive for 2 decades? He tried again to sit, slower this time. His muscles shook like paper, his fingers pale and thin. The alien placed a long hand near his shoulder but didn't push him back, just steady, watchful. "Easy," it said. "Even your smallest steps are dangerous now. You must regain strength or you will break." Daniel scanned the room, forcing his eyes to focus. Machines surrounded him. Tubes ran into his veins. Monitors beeped with every weak beat of his heart. He wasn't in a hospital, not one he recognized. The architecture was too smooth, too alien. "Where am I?" he whispered. The alien hesitated. Its expression didn't change much, but the pause carried weight. A place of care, a sanctuary. "You are safe. For now." Daniel caught the careful tone. "For now?" The alien turned its gaze toward the sealed door. "Much has changed while you slept. The galaxy you knew is gone. Humans are not what they were." Daniel's blood ran cold. He tried to demand answers, but his throat tightened. Words came out in a rasp. "What happened? What about Earth, my team?" The alien raised a hand. "Not yet. If I tell you everything now, your heart may fail. First you must remember how to live." Time blurred. The alien, who introduced itself as Supervisor Ryath, guided him through slow, painful exercises. Breathing, moving his fingers. Sitting upright without collapsing. Every moment felt fragile, like he was balancing on the edge of shattering, yet Ryath never left. Its voice, though alien, carried patience. "Good, again, do not rush. You are still human, yes, but your body is like glass after so long." Daniel clenched his teeth, sweat dripping down his brow. "You talk like you've done this before." Ryath's eyes flickered, unreadable. "You are not the first. But you are the only one who still breathes." The words chilled him more than the cold air. When Daniel finally managed to stand, legs trembling, hands gripping the edge of the bed like a lifeline, Ryath remained at his side. "You must understand," the alien said softly. "Many will not welcome your return. Some fear what humans can do, others would use you." Daniel forced himself upright, staring into those dark alien eyes. "And you? Which are you?" Ryath was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke, voice quieter, almost human in its gentleness. "I am the one who kept watch. I am the one who worried. Because I believe—" "You are not finished," the door hissed. A sound beyond it. Heavy boots, muffled voices. Daniel turned, startled, but Ryath's hand pressed lightly on his shoulder. "Not yet," the alien whispered. "You are not ready for them." Daniel's heart raced. Whoever or whatever was outside, they weren't here to help. He looked back at Ryath, desperate for answers. But the alien only said again, low and urgent, "Careful, human. This chapter will deepen the mystery." Daniel begins regaining strength with Ryath's help, learns fragments about humanity's fate, and realizes there are powers outside that want him, for reasons still hidden. Part 2. Whispers of the Past. Daniel's legs wobbled as he paced the length of the room, one hand gripping the wall for balance. Every step was shaky, Every breath ragged, but it was progress. Ryath watched silently, tall and still, its silver hands folded in front of its robe. Only when Daniel nearly fell did the alien step forward, one hand steadying him. "Slow," Ryath murmured. "You must not break your body in your rush to recover." Daniel braced himself against the wall, sweat dripping down his brow. "If I don't get stronger, I'll never figure out what's going on. You keep dodging my questions," the alien tilted its head, "because answers without strength are chains. You cannot carry them yet." Daniel gave a weak laugh. "Funny, humans usually say ignorance is bliss." "Bliss?" Ryath's dark eyes blinked slowly. "No, human. Ignorance is death." Meals were delivered, strange soups of glowing broth, soft meats, bitter fruits that burned and soothed his throat at once. Daniel forced them down, his body trembling as it relearned how to accept nourishment. Ryath monitored every swallow, every breath, recording notes in its alien script. Sometimes when Daniel asked what it was writing, Ryath simply said, "That you live." At night, sleep brought restless dreams. Fire across the stars, human voices calling, then fading into silence, strange banners flying over ruined cities. He woke gasping, Ryath always there offering water. "You dream of truths you do not yet know," Ryath said once, voice low. Daniel pressed. "Then tell me, what happened to Earth?" "To my people?" The alien hesitated, its gaze distant. "Earth still turns, but the humans of this galaxy are scattered. Some bent the knee to empires, others vanished, and some were erased." Daniel's chest tightened. "Erased?" Ryath did not answer. By the 5th day, Daniel could walk without leaning on the wall. His arm still shook, but his body was remembering itself. That morning, Ryath brought him clothing. Simple robes like its own, but smaller, human-sized. Daniel slipped them on, surprised they fit. "You were expecting me to wake up?" Ryath's gaze flickered. "I hoped. Why?" The alien's voice grew quieter. "Because you may be the last of your kind who still remembers what humans once were." Daniel froze, the weight of the words sinking in. Last of my kind? Surely that was impossible. But the way Ryath spoke, measured, careful, suggested it wasn't exaggeration. Before he could ask more, a sound cut through the silence. A faint metallic scrape beyond the sealed door. Both turned toward it. Daniel whispered, "You said others want me. Who are they?" Ryath's dark eyes hardened. "Not friends. Not saviors. They see you as weapon or prey." The door rattled softly, then stilled. Whoever was outside had tested it, then moved away. Daniel's pulse raced. "Why don't you just tell them I'm not worth the trouble?" Ryath's head tilted, expression unreadable. "Because you are." Later, while Ryath guided him through stretching exercises, Daniel's frustration boiled over. "You've kept me alive for 20 years. Fed me, healed me, waited. Why? What do you expect me to do?" The alien placed a long hand over his shoulder, firm but gentle. "I expect you to live, and to remember that humans are not small, not broken, not forgotten." Daniel stared at it, speechless. That night, when the camp's lights dimmed, Daniel caught Ryath standing at the window slit, watching the stars. The alien spoke softly, almost as if to itself. "I watched your world fall into silence. I saw others mock your species as dust, but I never believed. I waited for one who might rise again." Daniel's throat tightened. "And that's me?" Ryath turned, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You are awake. That is enough for now." The next morning, alarms blared. Red lights streaked across the walls. Daniel stumbled from his bed, clutching his side. "What's happening?" Ryath's voice was urgent for the first time. "They found you." Before Daniel could ask who, the door trembled under heavy blows. Metal groaned, sparks burst. Voices shouted in a language Daniel didn't recognize, harsh and violent. Ryath shoved a bundle into his hands, a small pack with vials, strips of cloth, and a strange glowing rod. "Take this. Stay close. Do not speak unless I tell you." Daniel's heart pounded. "Where are we going?" The door split with a shriek of metal. Ryath's dark eyes met his. "Somewhere they cannot reach. If we live." The door burst inward with a shower of sparks. Dark figures in segmented armor pushed through, their weapons humming with pale blue energy. Their visors reflected the red alarms flashing across the room. "Move." Ryath's voice was sharper than Daniel had ever heard. One long arm swept him behind its broad frame as it lifted a rod from its robe. The device snapped open with a hiss, forming a crescent of light that shimmered like a shield. Energy bolts cracked against it, filling the air with static. Daniel flinched, his ears ringing. "They're shooting at us!" he gasped. Daniel flinched, his ears ringing. "They're shooting at us!" he gasped. "They are shooting at you," Rieth corrected grimly. "Stay close." The alien supervisor surged forward with surprising speed, its robe flowing as the shield deflected another volley. Daniel stumbled behind, clutching the pack it had given him. His legs were weak, but adrenaline pushed him faster than he thought possible. They darted into a corridor, smooth walls glowing with dim strips of light. The air smelled metallic, humming with distant engines. Behind them, boots pounded as the intruders gave chase. Rieth guided him through turns, its voice steady despite the chaos. "Left, low passage ahead. Crawl if you must." Daniel ducked under a half-open bulkhead, scraping his arm. His lungs burned, his heart hammering, but he kept moving. They burst into a larger hall. Windows lined one side, revealing the void of space outside. Stars stretched across the black, broken by the looming silhouette of a massive station. Structures clung to its surface like claws, ships drifting around it like insects. Daniel's eyes widened. "Where are we?" "No time," Rieth snapped. "Faster." The attackers poured into the hall behind them, firing. Bolts scorched the walls, one grazing Daniel's sleeve. He stumbled but kept going. "Why do they want me so badly?" he shouted over the chaos. Rieth deflected another blast. "Because you are human. And because some remember what humans once were capable of." Daniel had no idea what that meant, but the way Rieth said it made his stomach knot. At the far end of the hall, a sealed hatch barred their way. Rieth slammed its hand onto a glowing panel. Symbols flickered, but the hatch refused to budge. They locked it. Daniel gasped. Rieth's dark eyes narrowed. "Then you must open it," Daniel blinked. "Me? I don't know your tech. Human systems are buried within this station's heart. Your kind once built part of it. The lock will respond to you." Daniel's pulse spiked. Humans built this place. He pressed his trembling palm against the panel. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the symbols glowed brighter, rearranging into letters he recognized. "Access granted." The hatch hissed open. "Go!" Rieth shoved him through. They spilled into a maintenance shaft, narrower and darker, pipes hissing along the walls. The hatch sealed behind them, muffling the shouts of their pursuers. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping. "I can't keep this up." Rieth crouched beside him, its silver face unreadable. "You must. The station is vast, but they will find us again. Only speed keeps us alive." Daniel forced himself up, legs shaking. "I spent 20 years in bed. This is the worst physical therapy ever." The alien tilted its head. "Yet you run. That is why you may yet live." As they hurried deeper into the shaft, Daniel's mind reeled. He glanced at Rieth. "You said humans built part of this place. But you also said my people are scattered, erased. Which is it?" Rieth hesitated, then spoke low. "Once humans spread far beyond Earth, bold, reckless, unyielding. You touched places others feared, but boldness brings enemies. When you fell silent, the galaxy decided it was better that way." Daniel shivered. Silent, erased. What had happened while he slept? They emerged from the shaft into another chamber, this one vast, filled with towering machinery and glowing conduits. The hum of power vibrated in Daniel's bones. Rieth checked the shadows, then pointed upward to a lift platform. "That will take us closer to safety." Daniel stumbled toward it, but a new sound froze him, the scrape of metal on metal. From the shadows, more armored figures emerged, blocking the platform. One raised a weapon, but instead of firing, its voice rang out, translated through a harsh device. "Give us the human. The supervisor may leave unharmed. This is your last chance." Daniel turned to Rieth, fear clawing his chest. "They'll kill you if you keep protecting me, maybe you should." Rieth's dark eyes glowed faintly in the dim. "No, Daniel. I waited 20 years for you to wake. I will not give you up now." The attackers raised their weapons. Daniel's pulse hammered, and for the first time he realized if he wanted to live, he couldn't just rely on Rieth. He had to fight too. The armored soldiers fanned out across the chamber, their glowing weapons aimed squarely at Daniel. The lift to safety loomed just behind them, tantalizingly close yet hopelessly out of reach. "Last chance," their leader barked. His voice was metallic, cold, almost mechanical. "The human comes with us. No harm need come to the rest." Daniel's chest heaved. His knees wobbled, body still half broken from decades of sleep. He felt more like prey than a man, but when he looked at Ryath, towering, calm, protective, something hardened inside him. "No," Daniel said, surprising even himself with the word. "I'm not going anywhere with you." The leader tilted his head. "You can barely stand. What hope do you have?" Daniel swallowed, then forced a crooked smile. "Hope's kind of our thing." The soldiers raised their weapons. Ryath stepped forward, shield rod glowing bright as it absorbed the first volley. Energy bolts splashed against the barrier, filling the air with sparks. The supervisor's voice rang out firm but urgent. "Daniel, move. Use the machines." Daniel's eyes darted across the chamber. Pipes ran overhead, steam hissing from vents. Heavy conduits pulsed with energy. One side wall held a control panel, flickering faintly. "If I can't fight them head on, maybe I don't have to." He sprinted toward the panel, his body screaming in protest. Bolts sizzled past, one searing across his arm. Pain exploded, but he gritted his teeth and slammed his hand against the console. Alien symbols glowed, somehow, some rearranged into crude English as if the system recognized him. His pulse spiked. Access override. Daniel hit the first option that appeared. The chamber roared to life. Overhead vents burst open, flooding the air with boiling steam. Soldiers shouted, visors fogging as they staggered back. Machinery whined as conduits overloaded, sparks raining down. "Now," Ryath boomed. With startling grace, the supervisor surged forward, shield flaring. It struck one soldier with the force of a hammer, sending him crashing into a wall. Another fell to a sweeping kick that cracked armor like glass. Daniel ducked low, crawling under pipes, his mind racing. He grabbed a loose length of metal and swung it at the legs of a dazed soldier. The strike barely dented the armor, but it unbalanced him enough for Ryath to finish the job. The leader cut through the chaos, striding toward Daniel with blade drawn. "You think tricks will save you? Humans are clever pests, but pests all the same." Daniel backed against the console, chest heaving. His dagger of a metal pipe shook in his grip. "Funny thing about pests," he rasped. "We're hard to get rid of." The leader raised his blade, then froze as a sharp hum filled the air. Ryath had positioned itself between them, shield blazing brighter than before. "He is not yours," the alien said, voice low and dangerous. The leader swung. Blade clashed against shield, sparks blinding. For a moment, the chamber was thunder and fire. Daniel saw the panel flashing again. "Pressure release." He slammed his hand down. The floor shook. A hidden hatch opened, blasting a torrent of superheated steam upward. The leader staggered, armor glowing red where the heat struck. He roared in pain, visor cracking. Ryath seized the moment, driving its shield into the soldier's chest. The impact hurled him across the chamber, where he crashed into machinery with a deafening clang. Silence fell, broken only by hissing pipes. The remaining soldiers glanced at their fallen leader, then retreated, dragging him with them. The chamber emptied. Daniel collapsed to his knees, coughing from the steam, vision swimming. His arm burned where the energy bolt had grazed him. Ryath knelt beside him, long hands steadying his shoulders. "You fought," it said simply. Daniel laughed weakly, though it came out more like a cough. "Fought? I pushed buttons and swung a pipe like an idiot." Ryath's dark eyes glowed softly. "And yet you lived. You saw what others did not. That is fighting, human." Daniel leaned back against the wall, exhausted. "Guess I'm more useful than I thought." The alien supervisor tilted its head. "More than useful. You remind me of what humans once were." Daniel blinked. "And what's that?" Ryath stood, offering him a hand. "The ones who turned weakness into strength." Minutes later, they reached the lift platform. As it rose, carrying them away from the scorched chamber, Daniel stared out at the sprawling station. Ships glided past massive docking arms, banners of alien empires hanging from towers. Not a single human face in sight, he whispered. "What happened to us?" Ryath's gaze remained fixed ahead. "That, Daniel, is the question the galaxy has been asking for 20 years. Perhaps you are the answer." The lift carried them upward, its humming echoing through the hollow shafts of the station. Daniel leaned heavily against the railing, his arm bandaged in makeshift cloth, every muscle trembling from the fight. He fixed his eyes on Ryath, trembling from the fight. He fixed his eyes on Ryath. "No more half answers," Daniel said, his voice rough but steady. "I've been shot at, chased, nearly cooked alive by steam. I think I've earned the truth. What happened to humans?" Ryath's tall frame stood rigid, Its silver skin reflected the faint blue glow of the lift, expression unreadable. For a long time it was silent, and Daniel feared it would refuse again. But finally the alien spoke. 20 years ago, humans were not the small scattered species you see now. They were rising, bold, expanding faster than most empires thought possible. Colonies sprouted on worlds thought unlivable, trade routes bent under your ambition. And with each success, fear grew. Daniel's stomach knotted. Fear? Of us? Why? Rieth's black eyes held his. Because you never yielded. Where other species obeyed treaties, bowed to councils, humans defied. You fought wars you could not win, and sometimes you won them anyway. To the galaxy, humans became a question with no safe answer. Daniel sank onto the cold floor of the lift, his mind spinning. He remembered fragments, negotiations with alien traders, talk of alliances, whispers of new colonies on distant rocks. Had they really grown that fast? So, what? We scared everyone? Enough to erase us? Rieth's voice was low, heavy. Yes. The Great Silence, they call it. Your colonies burned, your fleets scattered, leaders vanished. To speak of humanity became dangerous. To be human became a death mark. Daniel's throat tightened. But Earth? My home? The alien hesitated. Still there, but quiet, surrounded, watched. What remains of your people live under rules not their own. They are no longer free. The words hit harder than any energy blast. Daniel pressed his palms into his eyes, fighting the surge of grief and rage. His family, if any of them were still alive, had grown old or gone without him. 20 years lost. 20 years of silence. The lift slowed, opening into a wide observatory chamber. Stars glittered beyond massive windows, their light spilling across polished floors. But Daniel's gaze caught on something else. A mural carved into the wall. It showed humans. Not tiny or weak, but standing tall among alien figures, their hands raised as if holding fire. Ships soared above them, banners unfurled. Daniel's breath caught. You kept this here. Rieth stepped closer, its long hand brushing the mural. I preserved it. Others would have destroyed it. I wanted you to remember what you were. Daniel stared, anger and sorrow twisting inside him. You mean what we used to be? The supervisor turned to him, voice sharp. No, what you still are. I kept you alive because I knew someday a human would rise again, and when they did, the galaxy would have to face what it tried to bury. Daniel felt the weight of those words. He wasn't just some relic who'd been in a coma. To Rieth, and maybe to others, he was proof. Proof that humanity wasn't gone. But a bitter laugh escaped him. You've got the wrong guy. I can barely walk without falling on my face. You want a symbol? Find someone stronger. Rieth crouched, bringing its gaze level with his. Its voice softened. Symbols are not chosen. They happen. You woke when no other human has. That is enough. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, to push the weight away. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was all that was left here. And whether he liked it or not, that meant something. A chime echoed through the chamber, breaking the moment. Rieth's head snapped toward a control panel, its dark eyes narrowed. They are not finished hunting us. More will come. Daniel clenched his fists. Then tell me what I need to do. The alien studied him for a long moment, then placed the glowing rod, its shield weapon, into Daniel's hands. The weight nearly pulled him down, but he gritted his teeth and held it. Rieth's voice was steady, almost solemn. Learn to carry what your people left behind, because the galaxy will not forgive your return. Daniel stared at the stars, beyond the window, the mural of human defiance at his back, the alien's trust heavy in his hands. For the first time since waking, his fear burned into something sharper. Resolve. They erased us once, he whispered. Let's see if they can do it again. The observatory chamber was still, broken only by the faint hum of the station's power conduits. Daniel leaned against the wall, his breath ragged, the shield rod trembling in his grasp. His body ached from exhaustion, yet his mind was sharper than it had ever been since waking. Ryeth stood beside him, tall and unbowed, though its silver skin bore scorch marks from the battle. The alien's voice was calm but heavy with meaning. They will come again. Stronger. With more ships, more soldiers. You cannot remain hidden. Daniel looked at the mural of humans carved into the wall, their figures tall, holding fire against the dark. He swallowed hard. You're saying I have to… What? Lead? Fight an entire galaxy? No, Ryeth said softly. You must decide, to vanish or to rise. Both paths carry weight. Daniel slumped onto the floor, the weapon across his knees. His thoughts spun. He remembered the fragments of his old life, family dinners, laughter with friends, dreams of reaching the stars. All of it lost, erased in 20 years of silence. I'm no soldier, he muttered. I'm just one man who slept too long. Ryeth crouched, its dark eyes locking on his. Symbols are not chosen. They are made in moments like this. When you stood against the Syndicate, when you turned their weapons against them, you reminded the galaxy that humans are not gone. Daniel let the words sink in. He had seen the fear in the soldiers' eyes when he resisted, the fury in their leader's voice. And beneath it, a truth. The galaxy was terrified of humans returning. Maybe that was power. A low chime sounded from the control panel. A distorted voice filled the chamber, patched through the station's comms. Human, we know you live. We saw you fight. Others will come, not only the Syndicate. Some will seek to enslave you. Others will beg for your aid. You cannot hide. Daniel froze. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. And it wasn't directed only at him. It was broadcasting across channels. His very existence was now a signal. Ryeth's voice was grim. The galaxy listens. The choice is yours. Let them believe you are only one, or let them see you as the first of many. Daniel stood slowly, his body trembling but his voice steady. He walked to the window, staring out at the endless stars. They wanted to erase us, he whispered. They wanted the universe to forget humans ever mattered. But we're still here. I'm still here. That means the story isn't finished. He turned to Ryeth, resolve hardening in his eyes. I won't be their prisoner, and I won't vanish. If the galaxy wants to see what humanity is, then let's show them. Ryeth straightened, a subtle note of relief in its posture. Then you will need allies, ships, worlds that still whisper your name in secret. They exist, but they wait for proof that humans can rise again. Daniel gripped the shield rod tighter, feeling its weight less like a burden and more like a promise. Then let's give them proof. Outside the station, Syndicate ships pulled back, regrouping for another strike. But across the galaxy, comms buzzed with the news. A human had awakened, fought, and lived. Some feared, some hungered, some dared to hope. Back in the chamber, Daniel faced the mural one last time. He reached out, tracing the carved figure of a human holding fire. They thought we were erased, he murmured. But maybe we were just, waiting. He turned to Ryeth, a faint, grim smile tugging at his lips. Let's wake the galaxy up. The alien bowed its head in agreement. Then the true fight begins. Daniel stood straighter than he had since leaving the coma, the stars burning bright before him. For the first time in 20 years, humanity's flame flickered again, not as a memory, but as a spark that could set the galaxy alight. And Daniel knew deep down that he was no longer just one man. He was the beginning of something greater. The station's silence after the battle felt heavy, as though even the walls were holding their breath. Daniel stood by the great window, the stars sprawled before him like an endless ocean. He thought of Earth, of his family, of a home that might not even remember him anymore. 20 years gone, yet somehow it felt like everything was only beginning. Behind him, Ryeth's long fingers moved over the comms console. The alien's voice was steady, but Daniel sensed a quiet tension in every word. The broadcast carried further than expected. Already signals return, some hostile, some curious, and some… Ryeth paused, glancing at him. Some hopeful. Daniel frowned. Hopeful, you mean? There are others out there, humans? Not humans, Ryeth corrected. But those who once called you allies. Colonists who vanished may yet survive, hidden in shadows. And others, species who admired your fire, may still honor you even in secret. Your awakening stirs them. The console chimed again. A new transmission broke through, this one faint, distorted by distance. But the voice, though alien, carried something that made Daniel's chest tighten. To the one who wakes, if you truly live, if you are truly human, know this, we never forgot. We wait, we endure. Find us, the signal cut. Silence followed. Daniel's hands trembled on the railing. We never forgot. Whoever they were, they had been waiting, believing. He turned to Ryeth, his voice shaking but resolute. We have to find them. Ryeth studied him carefully. If you seek them, you declare yourself to the galaxy. Every hunter, every empire that wanted your people gone will come for you. It will be war. Daniel looked out at the stars. His reflection stared back at him, worn, scarred, but alive. Then let it be war. I'm not hiding anymore. Hours later, they walked the station's lower decks. Empty halls hummed with dormant machinery, ships long abandoned in docking bays. Daniel's legs ached, but with every step he felt stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. Ryeth led him to a hangar. There, cloaked in dust, sat a vessel unlike the others. Its hull was dented, its paint faded, but its shape was unmistakable. Daniel froze. His throat tightened. That's human, Ryeth nodded. One of the last ships your kind left here, hidden. I preserved it, waiting for the day it might be needed again. Daniel's fingers brushed the worn metal of the hull. It was scarred, yes, but still standing, like him.
Can it fly?
With work. With time. Daniel smiled faintly. Then we'll make it fly. As they prepared supplies, Daniel's mind raced. A day ago, he'd been a broken man stumbling out of a coma. Now he was planning to take a ship into the stars, hunted by enemies he barely understood. It should have felt impossible. Instead, it felt right. When the station lights dimmed to simulate night, Daniel returned to the observatory one last time. He stood before the mural, tracing the carved figure of a human with fire in its hands. They thought we were erased, he whispered. But fire doesn't go out that easily. Ryeth's voice came softly from behind. No, it waits for breath. Daniel turned, meeting the alien's dark eyes. Then let's breathe it back into life. Beyond the station, syndicate ships regrouped, but they weren't alone. Other signals stirred across the stars. Some were sharp with threat, others curious. And a few, just a few, burned with the fragile light of hope. The galaxy was waking, and with it, humanity's story was stirring from silence. Daniel clenched the shield rod, feeling its hum steady against his palm. He was tired, broken, unready, but he was alive. And for the first time since opening his eyes, he wasn't afraid. Let's find them, he said quietly. Let's remind the galaxy who we are. The stars seemed to shimmer in answer. Humanity was not finished. It was only waiting, and now it had begun again. Now it had begun again.